G'day, it's Brett here from BWCflies. In today's session, we are just going to run through the tying process for the BNP Gurgler self-tying kit that you can pick up from our website. So that's one of the finished flies there. So we'll just go through the step-by-step instructions so that when you purchase that kit, you can follow this tutorial and then you can tie up a couple of these. So inside of the kit, you get enough materials to tie 5, plus the bonus one that I've tied so that you can use as a reference for yourself. So the front of the box tells you what you get inside. A couple of other basic tools that you will need is a really nice pair of sharp scissors. You will need a dubbing brush to help comb out the brush itself. You probably need some small side cutters just to clip the wire. Just some super glue. I'll show you where I use that. And then a UV torch and some resin in a thin kind of formula. Okay. Now what I've done so far is that I've loaded the bobbin up with 210 denier black thread. That comes inside of your kit as well. And then I've put the NS 110 hook into the vise, which you also get those. And I've put on a layer of thread, basically. So we're going to move the thread down towards the barb of the hook. So we're right in between of the point and the barb is where we're finishing. Now, at this point, we're actually going to form the head up with some fibres from the brush that is inside of your kit. So what I like to do is just start at the bottom of the brush and take a little bit of a little clump. And I tie that onto the top of the hook shank to start off with. And we might add a little bit more to this as we go along. We're just going to make sure that we've got the right shape and volume of material there. So the next step, what I want to do is actually add my easy shrimp eyes in. So once I grab those, I actually just put my thumb in there just to spread them apart a little bit. I'm going to turn the hook shank so we're working on the bottom side of that. I'm going to position those eyes where that thread ends and tie in along the platform, just like so. Then take your thread all the way back up to the start. Now with those eyes, I like to just bend them up, okay, like so. And the reason why I put them on the bottom of the shank for this particular fly is that it helps with the foam positioning towards the end of the tying process. So what we do want to do here is actually bulk up the top of that head a little bit. So I've taken another small chunk of brush, and we're going to tie it in like so with 3 or 4 wraps. We're going to work back on the underside again and take another small clump of the brush, and we're going to fill in the underside of the head. So just push that over the point and tie that in with a few firm wraps, just like so. This is a really easy fly to tie. It's super effective on the bass and estuary perch, particularly in this purple, black and pink eye colour. So you can see what we've done here. We've started to create a nice tapered head, so to speak, just by, positioning the material on the top, filling it in where we're happy, and then adding the under the head section. Just going to tidy up that platform with a few thread wraps It's up to you whether you take those kind of steps or not in your tying. I just find that overall it makes an easier fly to tie. Now the next part is we're going to put on the rubber legs. So these are the sight cast marsh legs, and you get enough inside of your kit there for your flies. So I've just clipped 2 off of the run. Okay. And I want to position them underneath of the easy shrimp eyes. So I fold them over the thread and tie them in at an angle that runs down at about 45 degrees. Okay, that's one side done. And then this will be the other side done. Oh, missed that one. Just move my vise around just so I can check that angle and just bind him in like so, at a bit of an angle. Now at this point you can clip those legs if they're in your way. So we're just going to knock a length off just to even them up. Okay, flatten out that platform with some thread, and at this point in time we're going to grab the foam strip. So it's two-toned, and I'm going to cut a little wedge in the end of it. Okay, so just fix him up a bit. Okay, so the wedge looks a little bit like that. Might actually just even him up a bit further, to tell you the truth. There's plenty of length in these foam strips, so if you have to fill around a little bit to get that right, then you've got enough left over. Now what I like to do is position that flat face that I created at the front of the wedge so that it lines up and it's in between of the pair of eyes. Then with your thumb and your forefinger, just press down and give it a few fairly firm wraps. Okay, that there is the reason why I put the eyes underneath of the hook shank. When I first started tying this pattern, I was tying them on top of the hook shank, but what was happening was that process was then compressing the eyes and pushing them out of position. Okay, so really important that you get those eyes under the hook shank. Now you will end up with a little bit of exposed thread just in this area here, and that is where I do like just to put on just a touch of super glue just to hold it all together. Take your thread behind that foam strip, and I do the same just to add a little bit of durability into this area of the fly here, just to lock that foam onto the top. Okay, then you go back to using your brush and then tidy up the end of it, so you're just working with the end of the wire and the material. And from this point I bind that in right behind that foam. Take your thread down towards your hook eye and finish probably around about a hook eye spacing backwards. Okay, then what we want to do is palmer this brush, and as you're working towards the hook eye, just keep pulling the fibers out and back towards the head of the fly, so to speak. They don't have to be super tight wraps, because this material adds a nice amount of profile to the fly already. So there we go, we're gonna wrap that spacing, or that space that we left. Finish that off with a couple of thread wraps. I've made that look difficult. Okay, just hang there, everyone. Oh, there we go, we're out. Tidy that up just a tiny little bit. Okay, before you put the foam over the top, I do just like to get the brush in there and just drag out any trapped fibers. You might as well use them to your advantage on the fly rather than being stuck in up under that foam. So just like so, drag all them forward, flatten that out, and with a couple of firm wraps, attach the foam to that little platform of thread that you made. And then with that tension, you'll start to see that that foam does kick up naturally. And then you can build a little thread head underneath it there just to accentuate that as well. Okay, we're going to clip the thread off. We're going to clip the face off, little gurgler face. Make sure that they're all brushed out of the way. And then at this point, I grab my scissors. I do cut about half off. So what I'm doing here is I'm flattening out the actual body of the fly, but then leaving all of those long legs for underneath of the head kind of area. It just adds to that profile, and those little legs really move around in the water. That brush material from Sightcast is so soft, it really doesn't take too much movement of the fly to get that stuff moving. Really, really nice material. Then with your resin, you can just add a drop onto the threads just here. Just like so. Grab your torch, just finish that off. You should be able to see the UV reaction that those materials are having underneath of that light. So not only is the profile right for those species, but then also the materials they're pretty attractive in itself. Okay, just a little straggler. Just trim him off. Anyway, that's it. That's the finished fly. So that's the BNP Gurgler. So it's available from BWCflies.com.au, and it's part of our self-tying kit range. So thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you've learned a couple of little tips about tying that fly. Really simple one, and it's an absolute must-have if you're a bass or an estuary perch angler who loves targeting those species on the top. So anyway, you can check it out. Thanks very much. See you next time. Bye-bye.